Hello, and welcome to Dog Breed DNA Science. In the past few decades, influential papers have ranked breeds of dogs identified as responsible for bites, serious injuries, and fatalities of people. Should science decide, or your judgment? We all know that DNA tests can have many pros and cons, as well as a little controversy. So I decided to read some articles on the matter, and here is a little insight on a particular study. Governmental and other agencies may require dog caregivers to provide breed identification of their dogs. Certain breed-specific legislations can ban breeds of their choosing from entire cities, such as the fairly recent controversial news of Montreal announcing their ban of pit bulls from the entire city limit. Apartment buildings and houses can also choose to rent to people with a limited list of dog breeds allowed as pets on the premises. Breed-specific regulations that prohibit ownership of specific breeds were enacted with intent on reducing harm to people and property, landlords, housing associations, governments, and even insurance agencies. One source of information regarding the possible breed composition of dogs is a dog adoption facility or service. Now, in this video, I will talk about an actual DNA test study that proved more of an accuracy of a mixed dog's heritage than solely a person's judgment of their features. This test was shown to hopefully show that government policies of prohibiting certain breed types may not hold as much reliability when it comes to what breed some person chooses to call their own dog. There is definitely situations where both sides can exchange positions on which is better than the other, but overall accuracy does hint at one specific side. What do you think would be more reliable? Let's take a look. If two mixed breed dogs mated and created an even more mixed breed, who should be the one to determine the brand name of that dog for identification? The looks of them or the actual genetic component? Let's look at some research studies. This main study is strictly on the comparison of adoption agencies' breed identification and DNA breed identification of dogs. Information on the dog's named breed come from whoever at the adoption agency, such as an animal shelter or rescue, deemed fit for each dog. Most new dog owners will take the word of the agency very seriously. A professional DNA analysis was used to compare the accuracy of the results, however. Caregivers were asked to fill out an application form requesting the age, size, sex, and source of the dog. In addition, they were asked how the breed had been identified. Of the 50 dogs who were volunteered, 40 met the entrance criteria of being mature enough to have fully erupted canine teeth, being obtained from a shelter, rescue, or animal control or similar adoption agency, and being available to have the blood drawn on the specific day. The 40 dogs were also assigned to one of 4 weight ranges. Within these 4 weight categories, the study enrolled 5 dogs each from selected weight range. The 5 dogs picked from each weight group was completely random and were the variety of males, females, and ages. Breed percentages found less than 12.5%, however, were not significant enough to report in this study. Of the 20 dogs that had unknown parentage and were adopted from 17 different agencies, the study identified 16 dogs as having, or probably having, 1 or 2 specific breeds in their ancestry. Once the 20 dogs were ultimately chosen, their blood was drawn and the DNA analysis commenced. 16 out of the 20 had a probable clear stand out of 1 or 2 breeds specifically. DNA analysis of these dogs indicated that 25% did in fact contain genetic evidence of an adoption agency's identified breed as one of the predominant breeds in the dog's ancestry. Again, this gave the adoption agencies 25% accuracy, only measly 4 dogs that matched the agency's description. So, now we go to the other test. DNA analysis did not detect all specified breeds in 14 of these dogs. That is, 87.5% of the dogs identified by an adoption agency as having specific breeds in their ancestry did not have all of those breeds detected by DNA analysis. Let's look at an example. One of the dogs that they tested was deemed to be an Australian Shepherd via the agency. But when they did the DNA analysis test, it actually showed that what was more accurate would be 25% Schnauzer and 25% German Shepherd. Another example would be for dogs that are deemed as pit bulls, since there are so many in shelters. But what is actually in a pit bull? 90% of the dogs that are pit bull will actually have more than 2 or 3 different breeds inside of them. So with this particular one, it actually had 3 dominant breeds, 12.5% Lab, Dalmatian, and Bulldog. So who is to say what is a pit bull if many of them have multiple breeds in their genetics? The discrepancies between opinions of adoption agencies and identification by DNA analysis suggest that it would be worthwhile to reevaluate the reliability of breed identification as well as the justification of current public and private policies pertaining to specific dog breeds. It could especially be helpful for many mixed dogs that automatically are identified as pit bull by the person that was bit. Why is this? Because it is a breed the dog looks most like to them. Someone else, however, may have a different opinion on a dog's breed, especially if that person had more experience with dogs. There are also other studies that go over this similar analysis as simple visual versus observation from a dog professional. So I'll ask again, what do you think would be more reliable? Should we rethink the possible importance of DNA analysis? Here are the main resources that I used for this video. RJ and KJ Simpson did the adoption agency versus the DNA analysis. They also wrote an article on rethinking the identification at veterinary offices and what they should deem a pet breed to be, if it is a mixed dog. The other one is to compare visual and DNA via a professional dog handler or trainer doing the visual analysis. In the end, for most of us, it doesn't really matter how our partners look. It is their quirky personalities and their loving devotion that make them our family and our friends. Thanks for watching!